right, welcome to another Friday night episode of Keto Rocks. I'm Jim Hobbs, and to my left or right is Brian Damaged Forsythe of Kix. And speaking of Kix, you guys are playing tonight.
Yes, I'm trying to remember all the songs as we speak.
Perfect. Now you guys are playing in Houston first, or is it Houston? Houston and
Dallas first, and then
so you're Dallas tonight, and then Houston tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Awesome. Then you're back on the road. How does that feel? Traveling again.
It's nerve-wracking, and I think the real reason it is because I'm just out of practice. You know, it used to be a routine, and now it's like these last few days feels like I've been walking in circles trying to pack my stuff. You know, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And then going over the songs, it's just like long gaps between shows. It's like I know the songs, but not, it's like you get spacey on them unless you keep going over them.
Now, do you guys practice during the week for a gig? Do you guys do virtual practice, or you guys just show up there and put it all together during your sound check?
Yeah, we all practice on our own, and then if there's something we need to go over, we just run it at sound check. But we've been doing this forever.
I know, but isn't it amazing though, just that the last year and a half, how it just has changed our lives, and to get back into a normal routine, it's just all of a sudden we have to relearn what used to be normal for us.
Yes. Yeah. Well, yeah. Over the last year, there's a new normal now, or there was.
Right.
And now I got to switch back, or everybody has to switch back. It's hard, and even like for me, the travel, but then I've been home with my cat this whole time, and she's gotten used to me being here, and I'm used to being here with her, and now I got to leave her, and it's stressful.
Yeah, no, I get it. Peggy and I have a very hard time, and people who do not, or who are not pet lovers, won't get this. But for those who are dog and cat and pet lovers, it's like so hard to leave our dog. Like if that dog just looks at us, Slinky looks at us, and he, like, especially if we just go boating, he knows that when we're getting ready, he starts to cry and to whine, and he has to the front door, and he wants to go with us. And so we take him the majority of times, but there's times like this past weekend we had to go to some graduation parties, which we could take him, and it breaks our heart. Like, it's so sad to see that little face. He's crying, like looking at us with his little eyes going, please take me with you. And then when you come home, he just is so happy to see you. He has this toy called Rocky Raccoon, and when we come through the door, he is so excited. He runs and grabs Rocky Raccoon, brings it to us, and just wants to play with us. That's when he misses somebody, he showers you with going to grab his Rocky Raccoon and bringing it to you. And you're like, oh, we're so sorry we left you. So I know it's harder, especially when you get, like you said, we've been shut down for the last year and a half. Most people have in the country. So your pets, oh, hey, this is awesome. I get my partner, my owner, the whole time now.
Yeah.
And so it makes it that much tougher to leave. So I understand the emotions that go with having to leave your pet. That's why Peggy and I, for the most part, try to find places that will allow us to bring Slinky, but I would never put a dog on an airplane personally. It's just too much for him. So
yeah, I couldn't imagine doing that either.
Yeah,
my ex-girlfriend takes her cat, but her cat loves everything.
He loves flying, huh?
Yeah, she takes it to the pet store, and she rides in the basket.
My buddy, matter of fact, I'll say his name. I'll give a shout out to Steve Stepanek. I remember he took his dog in a stroller through, was it Wegmans or Whole Foods? He was pushing his dog in one of those pet strollers.
Yeah.
I never thought I'd see the day where I see my brother from another mother pushing a stroller through a grocery store with a dog. But I can relate to it now. I mean, truly, I totally understand and get it. But, that's a great segue, Brian, into the fact that the new norm, the new norm. And let's just utilize that for our lifestyle of dietary habits. We've been trained as a kid since we came up through the school system with the American pyramid diet, which is definitely proven to be not in your best interest, not even close. And matter of fact, I want to give a shout out. I posted some stuff today on our Facebook page, but this is absolutely a great book, and it really dives into it's pretty thick too. So it's a
wow.
It's a pretty thick book, but it tells you the truth about what food does for us, and how most processed foods are not meant for us to eat. And I know we've talked about this many times, going back to our caveman days, where the cavemen just lived in a cave and went out and killed an animal, and then they would eat it, and then they would just rest to go out there and kill another one another day. Mm-hmm. And we've become, the food industry has marketed all this food, which is definitely meant to it's not in your best interest. I'll just put it that way. That's not healthy for your body to eat.
Yeah, well, yeah, they're most people eat out of convenience, and I always say, with convenience comes a price, and it's usually your health.
No.
You get all the added ingredients, and and all the marketing, and it just, the way that all the information's manipulated to make you think you have to eat all day long, or something's going to happen.
Right. No. And the reality of it is, in this book, he talks about that, like the food that's marketed to us, that's processed food, whether it's fast food or food that you like, donuts or Little Debbie's. And you walk into any store that's a grocery store, or a convenience store like a 7-Eleven or a Piggly Wiggly, or one of the millions that are at gas stations, and that whole section by the register is nothing but candy bars, chocolate, sugar, and then now the big thing is monster drinks. High caffeine, double monster. What's that, Brian?
High caffeine and high chemical.
Yeah. High, and high fructose, and it's like how much badness can we put in one can that we can get the American public to drink? And and then they add alcohol to it. And I mean, there's just so many things that are going wrong with your bodies. Your body tries to process the crap that they're serving you, and they're marketing it well, because every store is selling it, and people are buying it because they think it's part of, what you should be doing. And in reality, that is not normal. So we talk about all the time, and especially Brian talks about all the time, about, go out and do your own research and get that knowledge for yourself. But don't get the research. I mean, you got to go a little bit deeper than just what the people who are manufacturing the processed foods are producing. You got to literally go out, and there's plenty of people. Dr. Ken Berry, we talk about all the time. The people I just mentioned here, Ted Naiman, MD. There's many others out there who are giving you advice or showing you studies recently of what that type of food does to your body. And they're also showing you that, for example, type 2 diabetes, 100% reversible. 100% reversible. It's not a matter of, maybe we can improve it. No, 100% reversible by your diet. And yet you don't hear many people, many health professional dispensing that type of advice to their patients. They want to get them on, insulin, or do this or do that, or they still want to do some version of that American pyramid diet.
Right. They just want to string you along so they can keep you as a patient.
Right.
It's not in their best interest to cure you.
Right. And that's the other part that I want people to realize. I mean, you got to start thinking on your own. Don't just go with the thinking that you were taught or you were programmed with. You got to get away from that programming. I literally think that the last year and a half, people having to stay quarantined in their house, gave a lot of people time to just take a breath, and start thinking on their own again, because we were so in that rat race where we get up at dark 30. All right. I know where was I at?
Dark 30.
Dark 30. Thank you. All right. So yeah, we get up at dark 30, and then we spend, depending where you live. I mean, I know the DC DMV area, commute can be anywhere from 30 minutes to 2 hours, depending on where you're commuting from into work. And then you go to work, and first thing you do is, get acclimated with your work surroundings. And then everybody's talking around 10 o'clock. Hey, where are we going to lunch? Hey, we're going to be ordering lunch. And next thing you know, 11:30, you're eating pizza, or you're eating whatever people are wanting to eat or share. And then, later in the afternoon, you're spending another hour and a half in commuting back home. And then you get home, and what do? You eat dinner. And then, because of everything you put in your body that's just processed for the most part, you're tired. You have no energy to get through the remainder of the evening. And then you do that over and over again, and you just do it over and over again. And there's no break in you being able to go, wait a minute, is this what life's all about? So I think the break with the pandemic gave everybody a chance to literally take a step back. And I think a lot of things changed, and I think gave time for people to breathe a little. And for those who are trapped at home, I think it gave you a chance to experiment a little. Like, hey, you don't have to go out to fast foods every night. You know what? Making food at home is not that bad of an experience. Yeah. I know I love cooking. So like when I posted some pictures on Wednesday of me taking the sirloins out and green peppers and onions, but I just love the whole cooking experience. I love even the sounds. Like, I love the slicing of the green peppers and the onions, and how those two food groups go together so well, and the union they have in the pan with the bacon grease. And I love all of that. I love, there's something about having time to appreciate that as you do it, as opposed to just, going out every night and stopping by McDonald's or Vinny's Pizza or Joe's Place or Brothers Pizza or Mini Vinny's, whatever, and having somebody else cook the food for you. It's nice for you to actually get your hands dirty with the food that you're going to eat, as opposed to letting somebody else cook it for you.
Yeah, I'm usually disappointed when I go out to eat. Whatever I order, it's always, I could make this better if I did it myself.
Yeah, I mean, but man, do you enjoy the whole experience? Like, I love it. I mean, you document a lot of yours, but I just love the experience.
Oh yeah. I mean, pretty much my whole day. It's funny because, before this pandemic, I mean, I always enjoyed cooking, and I always cooked whenever I was home. But when the band was up and running, that was my main focus, and my whole day focused around the show or whatever. And since I've been home, my day revolves around my meal. I mean, that's like when I wake up in the morning, my head's like spinning with like, okay, what can I put together today? Like, how should I cook my eggs today? And all this stuff. And like, I'll pull something out of the freezer the night before, and then I have to figure out how I'm gonna present it on the plate when I take the picture, and the whole thing. I just get into it. I love it.
Now are you a little nervous going on the road again? The fact that you'll be on for the whole weekend?
In what regard?
Like, they're going to have food that I'm really going to be able to enjoy.
Oh, the food part.
Yes.
No, I'm not too nervous. I'm actually, I make that into a game too. When I go into a strange town, I get on the internet and I look up the local diners and like the food places, and if the venue's not going to have food, or if I'm not sure how the food's going to be, then usually like I'll get a hold of Mark or somebody, and we'll go venture out to find a cool diner. Except that I think these two gigs, they're providing the transportation, so we might be limited on where we can go. Like we may be stuck at the hotel till they come and get us. But
Well,
uh,
usually a hotel always has a steak on their menu. You just, hope it's a good steak.
yeah, if the restaurant's open, that's
Well,
the
that's
only.
true. Well, Texas, I think, has been open for a while, so I think you guys will be okay.
Well, I'm talking about like a lot of times that won't open till 5, like the
Oh,
dinner
that's
thing.
true. Yes, that's true.
They
Yes.
have times when they close down, and like our sound check's usually in the afternoon. So I don't know. I'll figure, but it's a challenge. I always take it as a challenge. These adventures.
But you got Uber Eats now too. That's something that's out there. They didn't have that years ago. Uh, so you can always call them and pick whatever you want to have you picked up.
Yeah, I think I've used them a couple times before I moved here. I used them out in California a couple times.
Yeah, I remember in Reston before we even had Uber Eats, there was a company called Takeout Taxi, which I thought was the coolest thing. If you lived in Reston, you could order a takeout taxi and they would go pick up your food for you. They were so far ahead. I don't know if they're still in business or not, but they had a great business model. They were definitely ahead of their time. This is like 30 years ago.
Oh wow, yeah, yeah. Well, the one thing about this weekend, we're in Texas, so you know
Yeah, you're gonna have
I'll
meat.
be able to find something, some brisket or something somewhere.
Yeah, it'd be cool to sit there and see what you think about because yeah, people say Texas and you got the big steers and black Angus and barbecue and it'd be interesting to see if it lives up to the hype.
Well, I remember. I don't think one of these clubs are. Every time we go there, it seems like we. Well, the one club we have played before, but I remember there was one club we played. I can't remember when it was now. It's been a while, but I remember Mark. It was me, Mark. I think Jimmy was with us too. We all three uh, took a walk and walked like 5 blocks or so down to this little area where it was like a shopping area, and found this brisket place, like a barbecue place, and it was, man, it was so good. I mean, just some little hole in the wall brisket place, and I ordered just plain brisket, and man, it was good.
Yeah, it's always nice when you stumble across one of those places. I mean, and like I said, I love hole in walls. I love when you find it and all of a sudden they got the grill back there and all they're doing is throwing the wood and you got some guy there who's been look like he's been there for 50 years and he's got his apparatuses sitting there putting the meats on and moving them around like he knows exactly what he's doing and it's got that smoky taste to the meat. So yeah, I love coming across places and finding places like that. So
Yeah, and when we got there, because it was kind of, it was later afternoon, but it wasn't quite dinner time yet. So there wasn't anybody in there. It was like a couple people, and we're like, uh-oh, that's not a good sign. But we were just early, and
right.
it turned out that it was completely, we were reading the book by its cover, and it turned out to be like the best place we could have picked.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. One of the things I wanted to kind of talk about, I don't know what you had on your mind to share tonight, Brian, but what are some of when you decided what truly made you go down that path? What's the one thing that made you go keto first and then carnivore? What happened in your life to make that happen? Like,
Well, with me, it started with the physical thing, trying to get into shape. I started working out and running and doing all these things, and I've never, my whole life, I've never been able to, like, no matter how much I exercised, it seemed like I never developed muscles, and so that was my goal, was to develop my body, to get it right. And so I started with the physical part, and it just wasn't like doing it. And then really what opened my mind to the keto thing was the bulletproof coffee guy, Dave Asprey. When I stumbled across him first, and then I started reading about it, and that sort of opened my mind to that whole world, because I didn't know about it before that.
right.
So one thing would lead to another. I'd start reading this thing, and then they mention somebody, and then I'd go look up that person, and just, one thing after another. And yeah, and eventually it led me to carnivore, but there was a lot of different little things along the way that caused me to, shift my path.
Yeah. I I say that because I think it's good. I mean, today I was doing some meditation and I was really going back to what caused me to go down this path. And I think I've said this on the show before, but I remember I was playing golf with a friend. It was Jay Ashton. I met him at the clubhouse, and I'm not that great of a golfer, and I don't play that much golf. Matter of fact, I haven't played golf in probably 7 years. But this was about 2004, 5, 6, somewhere in that area. I remember at the clubhouse, and we were meeting there. We met there for breakfast before our tea time, and I remember ordering a breakfast or a couple of sausage and egg biscuits, and he ordered a bacon, egg, and cheese biscuits, and he told them the biscuits.
Mm.
No, he ordered it, and he took that off. Hey, you want my biscuit? I go, why? He goes, oh, I don't eat it. I said, well, why'd you order a bacon and egg cheese biscuit? You're not going to eat the biscuit. He goes, oh, I'm on Atkins. And I was like, Atkins, what's that? He goes, yeah. He goes, man, it's weird. I've already lost 7 pounds already. I don't eat anything that produces sugar. So I don't eat bread anymore, or starches, or pastas. And I said, really? He goes, yeah, but I said, well, how much eggs and bacon do you eat? He goes, oh, I don't even keep track. I just eat whatever I want. And I said, I said, wow, that's a diet I could get behind. And so I said, so I thought about it. And the next day I said, you know what? I think I'm going to do that. So I just started eliminating. And I remember Peggy's like, she goes, what are you doing? She goes, I go, I'm going to do this Atkins thing. And so I went and got the book, and I'm going to do this Atkins diet. And she goes, oh yeah, sure you are. So she just let me do my little thing, because it was much like, probably like your parents and, thinking you weren't going to do the guitar, so they weren't really going to get it for you. Peggy's like, oh yeah, when you, yeah, sure. Go ahead. I'll let you do your thing, and I'm just going to keep doing my thing. And I said, sure. Well, all of a sudden, I mean, I for whatever reason, I really gravitated toward it. I embraced it. I started living by it. And man, I started to feel great. My weight started to fall off. And I think it was about a month or two. And Peggy says, man, she goes, this is really working for you. And I said, yeah. So she decided, you know what? I think I'll give it a shot. Now, she had trouble at the beginning. And I don't know if this is just a women. She had a hard time. Like, she did it, but she wasn't feeling good. And it took her a long time. I mean, it took a while before she started to even lose the weight. But when it happened, it started to happen. And then she clicked, her body clicked, and then she started to feel really good. And then both of us feeling really good. And we joined gyms, and we started playing racquetball. And she got a coach that was a Green Bay football player that she did strenuous morning routines with. And she was running like 5 miles a day, and she was feeling great. And then we went on vacation. We went to Punta Cana, and we had all you could eat food and anything you want to drink and eat, and we fell off the rails. And I tell you, that's why I'm very cognizant of not wanting to put any of that poison back in my body, because I know where we were at that point. And I know when we decided to go off the rails and we started to go back to having bread and started going to eating out and eating whatever we wanted, of course we justified, oh, we'll just do it one day a week. We'll do this 2 days a week. Oh, and next thing you know, you're putting the weight back on, and you slowly return back to the person you had just been able to leave behind. And it wasn't until, like I said, I think probably the year 2000, or not 2000, 2015, 16, 17, somewhere's in there, that we said, look, we got to go back to what worked for us. And we said, look, we can't do it separately. We have to do it together. Let's do this. And we did. And we have not turned back. I mean, we have been on this journey. It is a lifestyle for us now. We will never return back to that, because it's just too hard to climb that mountain again.
Yeah, it is. Once you give something up, if you give into it again, well, for me anyway, because I've got those addictive tendencies.
Well, so do I, just so you know.
So yeah, it's and once you give up stuff like that, and then you go back to it, it's like sometimes it can work in your favor to where it makes it just obvious how poison it is to your system. Um, if you don't give in completely, if you can be really honest with yourself. I mean, that's how I was when I went to carnivore, and then I would try to add in some things here and there, and I found out that nope, it just doesn't work. I can't do that anymore, which sometimes was a bummer because it would be something I really liked, but I had to make the choice. Do I want to feel good or do I want to satisfy my taste buds or
Right.
whatever it is that I'm trying to satisfy? I don't know.
Yeah. No, I remember, I don't know what coping mechanisms that you use in your life, but I know for me, when I met my wife, Peggy, I was, I was addicted to chewing tobacco, and I chewed
Hmm.
tobacco religiously. I mean, you would never see me without having a chew in my mouth, whether it be Red Man or Skull, all the time. Peggy despised my habit of chewing tobacco, and rightfully so. But I'll never forget this moment, and this is what, and it pretty much the same principle that you use, Brian. I can tell you, I was in Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania, at a Holiday Inn for a meeting with the government that morning. I just got through having my coffee, my breakfast, and I put a big old chew in, and I turned on the TV, and there was a documentary on HBO talking about the cancer risk of chewing tobacco, and they were showing you all this. They showed you this cowboy guy who had lost half his mouth and jaw because of years of chewing. And I
Wow.
remember I turned the TV off, and I said, I'm not watching that, or I switched the channel. And then I said, there was something deep inside of me that says, no, you need to watch and face what you're doing to yourself every time you do that. So I turned it back on, and I sat there and I watched that whole documentary. And I'll never forget that. I said, I have to make a decision to live, or if I'm going to go through that. And I said, I have to be stronger than what this substance is. And I took that can of Skull, I threw it right in the trash can. I brushed my teeth, and I said, never are you going back into my body again. And that was the last time I chewed. I went cold turkey, and I had been chewing since I was like 14 years old. So it was a long time.
So did you experience any kind of withdrawals or anything?
You know, I didn't. The one thing, what it really, it was a habit of just doing it. Like every time I got into a car, I'd have a cup, and it was just more of a habit. But once I started to change the habit from like having to peanuts or crackers or whatever I did just to put something in, every time I went to the movie theater, instead of doing that, I just, I made popcorn and a large Mountain Dew. Not much better than, than chewing tobacco, but it's what I did at that time. But that type of processing in my head has caused me to do the same thing with 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 food, just like you do. Like you pick up the food, you look at it, you look at the ingredients, and you go, I'm not going to put that in my body. So part of the reason why, much like probably like you and other people, when I pick up books and I read them and stuff, it's it's more to just cement that knowledge that I have, that the food that they're marketing to me is meant to kill me. And I have to look at it that way. I have to look at that sugar as it's somebody out there has created this substance to kill me. And if I put it into my body, I'm literally committing suicide to myself. And I don't want to do that. I want to live. I'm about life. And so I have to say no to that. I just have to say no. I'm not going to put you in my body.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand that. Like back when I got sober, I and this is funny because all those years when I was doing drugs and drinking and um, I didn't smoke. I mean, occasionally I would just for fun, but
Right.
I wasn't a smoker. And then as soon as I got sober, I started smoking when I was in rehab. It was sort of like a replacement for
Right. Yeah. No, I understand that.
for the drugs. And then it took me, after I got sober, it took me 3 years to quit that. I mean, it just grabbed a hold of me. It took the place of everything else. And then when I finally quit smoking, I yeah, that was weird because there's the mental part of it, and then there's the physical part of it. There's two parts, and they're powerful. The mental part is really powerful. I mean, that's the hardest part to get over. But I remember with the smoking thing, I had to replace that. I used to chew a ton of Trident gum. I mean, it was so funny because I had this old Volkswagen Fox, and the ashtray was just overflowing with cigarette butts when I was smoking. And then finally I quit that, and then after that it was overflowing with gum wrappers. But it got me through it. Every time because it's the same thing as you with the chewing thing. You get in the habit of, certain times of the day when you normally have a cigarette or something, and then when you take that away, it's like, but it's the same with food, the habit of snacking and stuff. Right. It's the same thing. And so I with the smoking thing, I had to replace it with the gum. With the food thing, it's weird because it's more like I guess the fasting thing replaced it, which is odd because it's like it's an empty space. It's right. Not, I didn't fill it with anything. But that's what sort of, but really what the fasting thing did for me was it helped me to really see what I was doing. Like the snacking wasn't about being hungry. So, right. I mean, it was definitely a habit, and it made it crystal clear when I started to fast, and then I'd want to go for it, and I go, wait a minute, like there's no reason that I would want to eat right now. I'm not even hungry. And what's funny? I've been doing this a while now, and there's certain things that'll still trigger that. Like I was on a phone call earlier today with a friend of mine, and I get off the phone, and I hadn't eaten yet. I was still sort of like in my morning fasting state, but I was, the window had opened. I could have eaten if I wanted.
Right.
And I get done with the phone call, and it was like I just wanted to walk and open a cabinet or the refrigerator or something and look for something. And I thought, there's some weird connection with the phone and food with me. I don't know what it is, but it's weird. And if it wasn't for the fact that I hadn't eaten yet, or I was still fasting, I probably would have either given in and grabbed some pork rinds or something, and not even thought about it. But it's so weird that behaviors like that are just triggered, and I'm not even sure where it's coming from.
Yeah, there's a Dr. Joe Dispenza. He's a great doctor. He's you just have to read his story. He's more of a spiritual, I don't know what you even call him, but he's got a great story. If you guys want to Google Dr. Joe Dispenza and read what he's put together and read his story, his personal life story, it's amazing. But he really dives into like the chemicals that our brain at the time of that event, like for you, like Brian, your phone, you don't like talking on the phone. It stresses you out. So that stressor, your body copes with it by saying, okay, let's go grab comfort food. Let's get comfort food, and we'll get through this together. And you have to break that cycle, because that's when you're on that phone call, that smell and your synapses that are firing are saying, we got to offset this. We got to get comfort food for us to feel okay for this. And it takes you back when that first time that happened. And what I realized, just discussing this tonight with you, is like nothing really changes as far as, it doesn't matter whether it's alcohol, drugs, tobacco, food. It's our mind that gets wired with that habit. Mm-hmm. And it's almost like muscle retention, like it's memory retention. Like, hey, when I get in my car, I light up a cigarette, or I get in my car, I put tobacco in my mouth. And if I play baseball or sports, I put tobacco in my mouth, golf, whatever. It becomes a habit. And it's more about breaking that mental habit than it is about having the addiction to whatever that substance is. It's really just learning how to rewire your brain So instead of having to go look for cigarettes, you're looking for gum, and then looking for, whatever it is. Hey, I'm going to celebrate by having a glass of water. Like, for example, did you drink water back? Were you a water drinker back then, Brian? I mean, even during your drug days, or no?
Well, I drank alcohol.
No,
But
but
yeah. I actually gave up. I would have an occasional soda or something, but I pretty much gave that up back in the '80s because there was another thing that I found myself doing, like when we used to tour. And back in the '80s, we toured like nonstop, and it was mostly in a van. So
right,
somebody in the band would be driving, and we'd get tired, and we'd pull into either a gas station or something, or we'd have to pee, so we'd pull into some place, and I found myself time after time in front of the Coke machine, just looking at it, thinking, okay, what am I going to get this time? And there's this one particular time we stopped, and I remember I'm standing in front of the Coke machine, and then I finally had a moment of clarity. It was like, I don't really even want anything. What am I doing? Like, I was just going to get it because I was there, and it was this habit. And there's so many things like that where you just sort of get in the habit of doing it because it's there, or it's sometimes for me it's like I think I'm never going to get to do this again, so I better like maybe not stop ever again, so I better get it now kind of thing.
right.
It's just this craziness that your mind creates to trick you, really.
No, and that's exactly what my mind has done to me. Like Peggy will tell you, when we used to go on family road trips, first thing in the morning, before we even get on most of the time is jumping on 95. But I'd stop off at a McDonald's or a Hardee's, and man, or Chick-fil-A, and I mean, I'd load up with breakfast sandwiches for everybody. And I'm starting. I think about it now. I'm actually getting sick just thinking about this. Pulling in and getting all that greasy food, along with a big old Mountain Dew or a milkshake at 0600 in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm sitting there stuffing that's, yeah, I know. But it's crazy. But I would go down 95, and no matter where we're going, North Carolina, Florida, wherever we're going, when we pull off the road, just by habit, we pull off to get gas. I have to go grab a pack of nabs or a soda. Or it was just something like I had to be driving and always had to be eating or drinking something, just because in my mind I had programmed myself that anytime I traveled, I was going to be eating and drinking. And it's just crazy. But now it's just like, man, I get to places so much quicker because I just go by those exits that I used to stop by. And but it truly is tough. So I understand people who have a tough time breaking those habits. I plenty of people say, I wish I could do that. I'd love to do that. I just can't. I'm telling you, you can. It's your mind telling you can't, but you can reprogram your mind to break those habits that you think are unbreakable.
Yeah, and well, then it also comes down to, you really have to want to too. It's like a lot of people, it's just like, nah, I don't really want to, I don't want to give that up. I like that. It's like they don't really want to give it up. It's not, it's like for me, I had to get to the point where I had to give it up. It was like, it usually comes down to something like that for me to make a change, where it
Right.
just gets too painful to keep doing what I'm doing, and then I finally make the change. And if a person, yeah, it depends on the person. I mean, if they don't want to change, there's not really any reason for them to change or want to even give it a try.
Right. Right.
But for me, like you were saying earlier about the research, the more that I looked into it, and the more that I found out, and found out what was going on in my body, and yeah, the more it motivated me to pursue this. And I, and it's a continuous thing. I'm always finding new stuff out, and another thing about, well, when you were mentioning doing the research, is it's always important to find out where the source is coming from that you're reading.
Right.
because a lot of times I'll be reading something and I'll go, oh, really? I never looked at it like that. This, maybe I should check into this. And then I realize it's this thing that you get to the end and they're trying to either sell you something or it's something that the food manufacturer, it's just a marketing
Right.
tool, and they're just trying to convince you with all these statistics that are trying to prove their point, and it's just it's all just marketing.
Right.
So
Right.
you gotta be able to recognize the difference between marketing and actual research, and that's what's cool about Dr. Barry and people like that. They're not trying to sell you something. They're actually just showing you the information.
Right. No, I think I sent you something this week or last week, and you said, "Hey, I'm always skeptical about that because they're at the end of the book or the study, they're trying to sell you their product to take."
Yeah. So the whole thing is like
You got to look at it as marketing and not
geared
science.
it's geared to make you think you need that thing when you get to the end.
Well, Brian, back when we picked up the habit of smoking, when you quit smoking, were you able to quit cold turkey, or was that just a gradual thing? And do you have any residual side effects from or detoxing from cigarettes?
Yeah, I had to do it cold turkey because that's me. I'm all or none. I can't cut down. That doesn't work.
Right.
So yeah, I cut it off. It's crazy how it happened because I within the first year of getting sober, I already was thinking about stopping the smoking too, and it took me into my third year of sobriety before I could actually quit. I mean, that's how the roots just like took hold like really quick, and the way that I quit was well, little by little like stuff started happening where I was having these little moments of clarity along the way, and this is when I was working at that pet clinic, and I started being ashamed of the fact that I smoked. Like I didn't, I felt, I just felt stupid for doing it. And I would be out, I'd look for any excuse to go like out in the parking lot, like walk a dog out there or go pick up dog poop out in the alley or something. I'd always like find an excuse to go outside, and then I'd light up a cigarette, and then I'd have one eye on the door, the back door. And while I'm out there, and if I saw that door open, I'd take the cigarette and I'd just toss it because I was just embarrassed. And so those kind of things started happening. Or I'd be walking down the sidewalk smoking, and like a family would be coming towards me, and I'd see kids, and that would make kind of embarrass me. Like oh, this is like a horrible example. So those kind of things started to happen near the end, like more frequently, and and then. Then one day I got off work, and I was still at this recovery house, and this was like this is still a while before I quit after this. But another moment of clarity was I was broke. I had like $5 left or something, and I was on my way back home, and I think I didn't even have my car yet. I was on my bicycle, and I had $5, and I was hungry, and I was going to stop at somewhere. Maybe it was a Jamba Juice or something, and then I realized I was out of cigarettes. And it was like, okay, get something to eat or buy a pack of cigarettes. I ended up buying the pack of cigarettes. And I'm like, oh. And that's where I was like, it was drugs all over again because I used to do that with the drugs. So the final straw was I got this like a chest cold. And I remember I was on my way home from work, and out of habit, I lit up a cigarette in my car, and it just was like, oh, that's like, it tasted bad, it felt bad, and I remember I just put it right back out, and then later that night, I was at an AA meeting, and a friend of mine, I think it was after the meeting, comes up and wanted to bum a cigarette, and I pulled out this pack of cigarettes, and I had 2 left, and I said, here, take these. I don't want these. I'm done with these. And I gave him my last 2, and I told myself I'm not going to buy any more. That's it. And luckily, because of the chest cold and everything, it made it easier to do that. But I did go through probably about 4 days when I was just squirming, like in my skin. And it was like well, it was a mental thing, and then there was a little bit of physical. I could feel it in my muscles, like the detox thing. It was almost like a real, like super mild, like heroin withdrawal, really.
Right.
And I remember I had to go it was right around the holidays, and I had to go on a trip with my ex-girlfriend up to her parents up in San Luis Obispo.
Well, that'll stress you out not having your cigarettes for that.
Yeah, because we would stop at these certain places. We always stopped, and I'd have cigarettes at those places, and I couldn't this time. Yeah, and I was just hanging on by a thread, but I made it, and I just kept on. And the way I did it was, because I had gotten sober off of alcohol and drugs, I put the cigarettes over in that category with all that. So it was like I can't just have one because that'll lead me right back in. It would drag me right back into it, and before I know it, I'd be smoking a whole pack a day again.
Right.
So
Yeah. I had plenty of friends. I never, for whatever reason, I just never took to the habit of smoking. It never was something that was addictive for me because I guess maybe because of chewing tobacco was my addictive
yeah,
behavior.
that was holding you over.
Yeah, that was that. But I had so many people who were smoking, and I had people who, I'd go out with back in the '80s, and you go to clubs, and they started drinking, and they would start asking around, bumming cigarettes from people because it's crazy now, but back in the '80s there was no smoking establishments. Every establishment was smoking, and so
Especially at the bar, yeah.
especially at the bar, and so people would start drinking, and I'd be people like I never see them smoke during their workday, and I go, I didn't know you smoked. Oh man, when I start drinking, it just kicks in from time to time, and then they would smoke one after another if they're at a bar. And then people who I knew who were trying to quit, as soon as they take a drink, oh man, I really craving a cigarette, and they'd go bum a cigarette, then they go right back to smoking again. You said something that triggered a memory for me, talking about the chest cold. I remember, I don't know what year it was, but my close friends, we would always go trout fishing up in the mountains, and the first day of trout fishing was April 1st. It's the first Saturday of April. And I remember leaving that Friday from Crystal City from work, and I didn't have strep, but I had such a sore throat. I ended up having a sinus infection, but I couldn't breathe. I couldn't even swallow. It hurt to swallow. And this is how stupid and addicted you are. I remember getting into my Bronco, and the first thing I did, I mean, I'm feeling terrible. I've got probably have a fever, but I'm making it to the camp, to up in the mountains. I'm going trout fishing with my friends. I'm not gonna miss out on this. And I put a chew in, and I'm sitting there chewing, and I'm coughing, and I got the heater on. I'm sweating with fever. You know how you feel with that feverish, and I'm chewing, and it's just miserable. Like I'm just miserable, but I have to do it because I want to get that little slight buzz, and I look back and think about that's probably a defining moment of just how sick you are or how addictive you are to a substance that you feel like crap. It's like the people who are at the hospital who got emphysema and our oxygen machines. They got to smoke a cigarette. They don't care.
Yeah,
that it's gonna kill them. And that's how I was on that trip. I look back on that trip and I'm like, man, what a fool I was to be that addicted to a substance that's going to do nothing but bring harm to my body. And yeah, but you have to come to that, thank God for, like you said, points of clarity where you're able to think through that. And now I look back and I apply that to all areas of my life. At least I try to. Even in the last year, I got back on the peanut butter and peanuts and all that, but I had to, look in the mirror and be honest, and I don't buy them anymore. I haven't had them. And, it definitely was a stumbling block that was causing me to be addicted to something I didn't need to be addicted to. I just, have to change it over. For looking back, I've always was addicted to Mountain Dew. And now, that just thinking about a Mountain Dew just literally causes my stomach to turn because you know, all I drink now is water. So that's it. It's just water all the time. You know, I'll have a tea or something every now and then. But most of the time, 90% of the time, if I got a glass in my hand, it's going to be just H2O. And
Yeah.
and people get bored with that, but I never get bored with water. It's like you know, people go, how do you just drink that? How can you drink it plain? I'm like, well, how's you're supposed to drink water? Yeah, but don't you? They put those flavor packets in it, you know, and
Well, yeah, everybody's so used to everything being sweet. That's the problem. Like once you get away from that, then the sweetness tastes weird when you
yes,
have something sweet. And that's another cool thing about like especially the carnivore diet. I mean, I have been using that blue cheese on top of my steaks, but lately, but to be able to just taste the food for what it is without having to put all the stuff on it, and you know, people think they're missing out without their stuff, you know, their sauces and this and that, and the same thing with drinking water. They just think it's boring, like uh, and with coffee too. It's like I learned to drink coffee black because I remember way early on, like way back in the 80s when I first started drinking coffee, you know, I put the sugar and the creamer and all that junk in there. And then sometimes we'd show up at a club and they would have a coffee maker and nothing else. And it'd be like, where's the sugar? And like, you know, and then you'd have your coffee and it'd be like, oh, this is terrible. But then I decided, well, I'm going to learn how to drink coffee black because that way, if there's nothing there, then I'm not going to miss it, you know. And so that's how that kind of got my mind. And it's the same with water. If you get used to, and you can get used to anything, even like, well, like the electrolytes. Like I do put electrolytes in my water sometimes, but that's another thing that, like the non-sweet electrolytes,
mm-hmm.
like those are the ones I use, and you get used to it. Like after a while, that tastes good to you,
Right,
you know, instead of the sweet kind. But
yeah,
it's all like, you know,
it's all mental. Bottom
yeah.
line is it's your mind, and so you have to be the true you has to reprogram your mind so your mind understands it's not missing out on anything. But when you let your mind dictate your choices and your life, more times than not, it's going to lead you to a bad decision. And that may not make sense to anybody, but it truly makes sense to me because I've lived it. So, you know,
Yeah.
I was showing Brian before we hit the record button for tonight's show. You know, as a kid, I used to get the Sears, the Christmas catalog, and would spend hours and days and months just through that. And I got this magazine 2 days ago, and it brought me back to those days. I mean, showing pictures like this, I was telling Brian it's food porn. You know, I was telling my wife, I go, look at this centerfold right here. And it's, but you know, what's nice about that is replacing an old habit with a good habit. I mean, looking at this and causing my brain to go, oh, that's really good. And the reality of it is really good and it's good for me. So if I want to strengthen my body, you know, those are the things. Oh my gosh, look, look at that burger.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's so many things you still can look forward to that you still get pleasure out of doing and you enjoy, whether it be water or bulletproof coffee or just a good ribeye steak. But you can replace those habits because I know, look, I understand habits and how and why they get formed. There's something in our childhood that says, you know, I know from my childhood from traveling, my dad would always pull off and every time we pulled off, it gave me a chance to get a Mountain Dew and a candy bar. Or my grandparents owned a seafood market, and every time we would leave North Carolina to go back to wherever we were living at that time, because I was a military brat, Navy brat, my grandmother would go around this in the store and pick up and make a goodie bag and give it to me. It'd be Mary Jane's and bazooka gum and Cracker Jacks and all this junk food. And I, you know, traveling became fun because all I do was sit in the back seat of the car and I would just pig out with food. So, you know, it probably started then that I was programming my mind to say, hey, when we travel, we get a chance to eat. This is what we do. In reality, while those goodie bags were given in the name of love, the contents of that bag was not going to be in my best interest. So I live a long life and love those who are around and are important to me. So, you know, there's this, you just got to reprogram stuff. Now I everywhere we go, I bring water in the car. We have a case of water always in our vehicle. Peggy and I just drink water. And when we go on vacation now, it's, you know, we stop to get gas and that's it. It's just hitting the road.
Yeah. Yeah. When I fly now, I mean, when I first started doing these fly dates back in the early 2000s, you know, I'd freak out if I didn't have any snacks to bring with me. And even the more healthy snacks, like the meat sticks or whatever. Now it's like, I don't even bring any, you know, it's like, I don't even worry. Like, I can go hours without even thinking about it.
Well, no, that's the other thing that intermittent fasting does. I mean, and I think that's probably one of the most powerful practices or a part of my daily regiment is, you know, I used to wake up in the morning because my mind was programmed, just like you say, you know, every time you guys pulled off back in the days when you guys were traveling, pull off at a gas station, your mind was programmed. Where's the Coke machine? I got to get a Coke. I got to get a soda. You know, my body was programmed when I woke up in the morning, I had to go eat, grab coffee, just, you know, eat Pop-Tarts and, you know, all the junk food and everything. And then you know, causes you to start thinking about what am I going to eat at 10:30, 11:30, 12:30, 1:30, and you're just eating throughout the day. And then you go to bed eating a pint of ice cream or a milkshake or, you know, Reese's cups, whatever it is. It just becomes a habit, a bad habit. As opposed to now waking up. I mean, like today, I was like 12 o'clock or 12:30. I remember going to Peggy and say, hey, are you beginning to get hungry? And she said, a little bit. And she's, what are we going to have? And I said, I'm going to fix some ribeyes on chaffles for us today. So I think probably about an hour later, I came in the kitchen and cooked those up for us. And, but, you know, like right now, that was 1:30. I haven't had anything since then. I'm not hungry at all. I'm like, totally satisfied. And I'll be that way till tomorrow at 1 o'clock, 1:30, somewhere around that time frame. So, you know, I think it's important for everybody who's watching this just to take a step back and real take accountability for, you know, ask yourself. It's kind of fun. I mean, take a journal yourself, find out why you do what you do. Because I think it'll lead back to your answer, what you're looking for. And then, you know, ask yourself the important question. Like Brian, when you pick up that carrot cake, you go, this is going to kill me with the poisons that are in it, or I'm better off just putting it back down and going over and having a ribeye. And that's it. You know, we're not telling you not to eat. We're just telling you to eat the food that's going to fuel your body, to maximize your immune system, that's going to breed life and give you a better quality of life, than to have to be one of these people who go to the doctor every week and take a statin drug and insulin and you know, you being killed one limb at a time when they say, oh, we're going to remove the toe, then it's the foot, then it's the leg. And then, you know, it doesn't have to be that way. All right. It's that time of the evening where we get a chance to check in with Mr. Brian Shanker of the Meat Tribe, where he's going to give us this week's meat deals of the week. So Brian, take it away. How you doing, brother? How are you doing before we hear your messages, your deals?
I'm good. I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. It's been a great week. So I'm excited to hear what you got for us today.
All right. Sounds good. So first up, we've got Giant Eagle has some 73% lean ground beef at $2.49 a pound. And talking to you before, anything under $3 a pound is a good deal on that. So 73% lean ground beef at Giant Eagle. And
$2.49. I want to understand that 1 pound of hamburger is cheaper than a 1 Starbucks coffee. So just put things in perspective. Fuel your body with fuel that's meant to improve your life than just to supercharge with sugar. And if you do go to Starbucks, nothing against Starbucks, make sure you don't get the sugar, use stevia. But $2.49 is a great price, Brian.
Yeah, that is. And you're not going to get that crash afterwards, filling yourself up with lean ground beef.
That's for sure.
All right. Next up at Giant Eagle, they've also got some choice grade boneless market district beef stew for $5.99 a pound. And both of the Giant Eagle deals run through June 16th. I'm talking about the beef stew this time. Every fall, although I haven't done it the last couple of falls, I like to make a big pot of chili, and I use the diced up beef stew that I can get at the grocery store, and I just cook it down till it falls apart, and it's just, you know, no longer recognizable as a cube of beef. It's just,
now you have my attention. Now you have to invite me over for that meal. That is one of my favorite. I love chili during the fall. Football, chili, and the fall weather. Perfect combination.
It is. It's so good. And like I said, I haven't done it the last 2 falls, but I need to get back on that tradition. Next up, Weiss has, I'm so excited about this. It's the first time I'm going to be talking about a prime grade cut of meat. I haven't seen any prime grade meats on sale yet. So Weiss has a prime grade, boneless, certified Angus beef New York strip steak. And hold on to your hat here, Jim. The price is $19.99 a pound.
And a kidney.
That's the sale price.
Wow, so, that's the sale. Whoa. Yeah, somebody out there is going to have to buy that one and let us know how it is, because it won't be me.
I'm with you on that. I'm going to skip purchasing that. So like Jim, like you were just saying, if anybody else takes advantage of that, please take before pictures after you unwrap, take it out of the package so we can see the marbling. Take some cooking pictures while you're cooking it. And of course, your presentation after it's done, cut that baby right in half, separate it a little bit, and let us see, make sure you cooked it to proper temp and not overcook it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, definitely take pictures of it. That's stuff you want to hang on the wall. I mean, that's your baby. That's your prize baby at $19.99 a pound. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Next up, that deal runs through June 15th. Next up, Giant has some boneless. It's more of one of their healthier, at least what they're calling their healthier products. It's the Nature's Promise grass-fed ribeye steak for $9.99 a pound. That's a pretty good price there for, a higher end product that they're selling. Right. That $9.99 a pound, being grass-fed. That's pretty good.
That's a good price.
Yes. And then, so we were talking about this the other day. You sent me a picture. Aldi has a box. It's all choice grade meats inside there, and we'll go over what's in it in a second. They're calling it a Grill Master Collection. It feeds 18 people. It's frozen. It's in the frozen section. I'm going to pull up the ad, but I think I'm going to go buy it, as long as it's not a tiny box like some people, that send meats out. It's a small box and small portions. If it's a decent sized box, I think I'm going to buy it and, open it up and do a video.
Yeah, please do. It was a good sized box. So I think you're going to be, it's bigger than those boxes when you get from Kansas City beef or whatever. It's a bigger box. So yeah, I'd be interested to find out what's in it. So definitely film it. I'll put that on your channel, and I'll definitely go over there and watch that video.
Will do. So let's go over what's inside that box. They've got 2 choice boneless ribeye steaks, and they're 10-ounce portions. They've got 2 choice grade bacon wrapped beef top sirloin steaks. Those are 6-ounce portions. They've got 2 choice beef Kansas City strip steaks, and those are 10-ounce portions. Now, I've heard of New York strip. Everybody's heard of New York strip. I haven't heard of Kansas City strip, so I'm assuming it's going to be a similar cut. I'll have to look into that. They've got 2 boneless pork chops, and those are 8-ounce portions. They've got 4 classic beef steak burgers. Those are 4.5 ounces each. They've got 4 cheddar bacon beef patties. Those are 4.5 ounces each. And they've got 2 boneless, skinless chicken breasts that are 7 ounces each. So the portions that they're saying these cuts of meat are sound like they're decent size. So this might be something worth getting.
Yeah, we will wait for you to purchase it and show the opening video of opening the contents. But yeah, I looked at it. I didn't get it, but I was tempted by it. Let me just put it that way. I was very tempted by that box.
Okay, so I'll be the guinea pig. I'll bite the bullet for the team, take one for the team, and I'll go pick that up, and then I'll do a video, and I'll link you guys on it, so you can, when I post it, share the link on Facebook, I'll post tag you guys on it so you can see it.
Definitely. Thank you.
All right, so those are the only deals I have. Just want to make sure that everybody heads on over to the YouTube channel. It's called Meat Tribe. Every week I do a more extensive update than I do for you guys. I just give you guys a small taste of what's out there. And it's a much more lengthy update. And it's not anything crazy. It's not a 15-minute video or anything like that. They're all, less than 10 minutes. Meat Tribe is all one word, no spaces. And when you get there, please be sure to help me out by liking the video, subscribe to the channel, and click on the bell so you're notified every time I upload a new video. And if you come across any great deals, please let me know in the comments section below. Love to hear from you.
Awesome. Get over to his channel, subscribe to him. I go in there every week. So get on his channel. He's got some great content. And then scroll down to the comment section, because like he says, people chime in and say, hey, this is what I found. So you can find some really good deals before you go out there in the marketplace to purchase your meat. So, well, Brian, thanks so much for taking time to join us and giving us those deals of the weekend. Have a great weekend, and we will see you next Friday.
Sounds good. Thanks, Jim.
All right. Take care, Brian. So anyway, you got anything else you want to share, Brian?
You want me to share the usual?
You can. What would you tell? What would you tell somebody who's watching this for the first time? What bit of advice would you give them?
I would tell them, eat your meat.
And I would say, I'll second that. So we'll see you guys next Friday, same time, same place. Stay safe, stay well, and stay out of that hospital. See you, everybody. Oh, Dark 30. Sorry about that, everybody. Oh, Dark 30. Goodness.
Assistant.
If he calls one more time, let me put it on Do Not Disturb. Hold on a second. I have to edit all this out. Sorry, Brian.
It's okay.
Do Not Disturb.
Ooh, I don't even have my phone off. Usually I think about that.
Well, next time you have my permission to say, hey, Jim, before we start, turn your phone off. Let me just make sure there's no emergency going on here. All right, I'm good. Let me get back to